Avatar: The Way of Water. The biggest, arguably the biggest movie coming out in 2022. However, we have to ask a question. Do you really care about Avatar? Kayla, I want to start you off. Actually, let's dial it back a little bit. Well, I want to get some general information. So first of all, if you're old enough, like us, Avatar came out, let's see, 13 years ago. That's almost, that feels like a lifetime ago. So now they're coming out with Avatar: Way of the Water, the sequel to the most grossing movie of all time? The
It
biggest.
was the highest grossing film of all time when it came out. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I think it still may be worldwide unless Avengers Endgame beat it.
I don't think it
Which I
did. I
think
think that was a huge controversy about Endgame, or yeah, the whole thing is like it never beat Avatar. So I think it still is number one. Yeah, but it's coming out December 16th. Coming out very very soon. It's gonna be 3 hours and 12 minutes, and like I said, it's gonna be the continuation of the Avatar story, but also it's becoming a whole franchise and really getting into the culture push. However, is it too late for Avatar to really push that cultural relevance? And just to prove that, just to talk about that point, is that this movie has a lot of pressure that it has to really accomplish, right? So first of
hmm
all, Avatar: Way of Water, cost between 350 to $400 million to develop. On top of that, Way of Water needs to hit $800 million to even break even on those costs, so it needs to become the fourth highest grossing movie of all time. If and also going on that, talking about James Cameron, the director, right? Yeah, the
Yes. I
director
think
of
he's the
Avatar.
writer too
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the Avatar films.
hmm He said that if Way of the Water fails, also Avatar 3 fails, he's considering scrapping this whole franchise. And that's what brings me to my first question: is first, Caleb, are you even gonna go see Avatar: Way of Water?
Reluctantly, yes.
Wow, I'm
I
very
say
surprised.
reluctantly because this is the perplexing thing whenever I sit down and ask like family members, friends, like, hey, are you interested in Avatar? Surprisingly, most people say yes. They think back to like 2009, the experience they had in theater, how Avatar was a very, pretty movie in terms of the cinematography and CGI, like the nostalgia for it. But it's not like an Avengers type hype. It's not like I'm getting a feeling that anybody's actually excited. It's just they're thinking back to back in the day and they expect it to be just as good. I personally have no hope for this film.
Yeah.
Like the trailers make it look very corny, and I don't know if I can handle 3 hours and 12 minutes of corny,
hmm
no matter how pretty it looks.
I'm completely on board with you. Actually, I'm on board with you with the whole like I have no faith in this movie, but I'm not seeing this movie. I'm dude. What do you mean? What was that shocked face? Like
Well,
I'm
you're
not.
not gonna like go if a bunch of people are going.
All right, that's the thing. If there's a whole bunch of people going, then like sure I'll see it just to dunk on it during the movie. But like just it's just like bringing it to what James Cameron said in an interview. I forgot what interview it was, but like he admits it's just a different time. Like the big question, like probably gonna be the title of the video, thumbnail or whatever, is like who cares? Like it's
hmm
such like, and that's another question I want to ask you. Like, was Avatar's original story even compelling enough to like really like to carry this whole franchise? Because I don't think it is.
No, I actually feel like it reminds me of that film Gravity with Sandra Bullock.
Mm,
Like, I don't know if you remember that film about her getting like stuck in space.
yeah.
I watched it in Real D 3D when it came out, and I thought it was one of the best movies ever made because the spectacle of it was amazing. But then I watched it again at home on a regular TV, and I was like, wow, this movie kind of sucks. It's not really that good. It's kind of boring, and nothing really about it is that special, which is wild because I get the same feeling from Avatar. I watched it in the theater way back in the day in 2009, the whole 3D setup, and it was a spectacle. But then when you get home and you watch it, you're like, the story is dances with blue cat people. It's like dances with wolves, but with the blue cat people on the
Right.
planet with unobtainium, the mineral that the bad guys wanted so
Wait, is that
bad.
what that was called?
It was unobtainium. Yeah, I know, really stupid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we all miss those really corny things in the first Avatar because I think we were all so amazed at what we were seeing in the theater. Because the CGI, like in 2009, it was amazing. Like
Yes, and
top of the line.
and just to like go for that point too, like let's look at what made that movie what it was back in the day. It was like almost like the technical progression or like something that we were very looking forward to. So it's like the whole like selling point of the movie was that it was technically advanced, right? But now you look at it now, it's like it kind of just looks like kind of run of the mill sort of CGI. Like I think the movie's I don't think it looks bad. Like on the contrast of like MCU sort of CGI becoming like a complete mess. Like it's good looking, but it's also very industry standard to this point.
Mm-hmm.
So that's some point aside. It's really like that's the whole thing about Avatar. That's what made that appeal back in what was it 2009? Yeah, 2009.
Yeah, 2009.
And it's like that like just thinking about how much that movie rode off of that technical prowess is just like you don't have that selling point anymore. So you really have to rely off of the story. And like you talking about unobtainium, which it blows my mind that that's like the actual name. Is that really the name of the material?
It's unobtainium.
That's that blows my mind. But it's like, yeah, man. Like they completely. I really want to ask James Cameron if he was right here right now. I would like to ask him like, why did the momentum stop? Why did it have to stop? Because after the original movie, I know there was like a video game. Now there's a mobile game coming out, and I think there's a few comics, but like they really messed up in the sense of not keeping Avatar in the public eye, and that's hard to do after 13 years. So it's like, what was their whole? Do you know like why they sort of stopped the whole thing?
So James Cameron is an innovative filmmaker. There's no doubt that's why the first Avatar looked so amazing. Is he worked on a lot of the technologies that were employed in that film, and I think for this one, if I can recall, he was testing underwater cameras so he could get a certain look for the film. Considering it's Avatar: The Way of Water, a lot of the film is set underwater. They wanted a certain kind of look, and he invested a lot of time in this technology, but in that time, all momentum is, I feel like, ultimately gone.
Right.
Like the reason Avengers Endgame does so good is it came out a year after Infinity War. The reasons why the Lord of the Rings films did so well together is they came out 1 year after each other. The Star Wars prequels, 1 or 2 years after each other. The original Spider-Man. Like I can go on and on about trilogies and where they've released their films and how close to each other to ensure there is that momentum. And I feel like there is none for that. How can you have momentum after 13 years? Nobody was thinking about Avatar a year ago at all. It never crossed their mind. I don't even think there was people sitting down and watching it anymore in their spare time. I don't think there was any fan. I refuse to believe there were people out there that would like dress up like these blue cat people and like go to conventions.
Dude, that's another thing. It's like, when was the last time you even see people like dress up as an Avatar character for Halloween? Like, is that like
never my whole life?
So, and I want to ask you, like, have you recently rewatched Avatar? I haven't.
No, of course not.
I haven't rewatched it since like my brother got it for Christmas as like the Blu-ray sort of big thing for that year. It's like that was the last time I heard about it, 13 years ago.
Like, why do I care about Jake Sully and his story?
Right.
And the unobtainium. Like, why should I care about that?
I need to look that because I don't believe you, Caleb. I don't believe that it's called unobtainium. I refuse to believe it's such a name as corny as that. I don't believe it. I gotta look it up. But I do want.
It's unobtainium. It's a horrible name for
that's crazy.
the thing, but like that's what it's called. Outside of like losing the momentum from time, I feel like the CGI, like you pointed out, it's not really that much better than the first.
Yeah.
But so much time has passed. Could you really do it that much better? Like it's a film that's entirely CGI. If you improve it too much, it doesn't even look like an actual sequel anymore. You'd be like, whoa, this looks like a completely different movie. So they kind of like constrain themselves. And they've put so much into this, which is so mind-boggling. Like they, for some weird reason, believe that they have, the next big bestseller on their hands because they dedicated to 2 more films. And I can understand, from a producer standpoint, you invest in films to be made, to make your money. You look at the $2 billion, $2.7 billion worldwide made by Avatar. Who says no to that?
Yeah.
But 13 years later, and with 2 more film commitments. I don't know.
and
I don't know
and
if it works.
that's the thing too is like I almost sense a feeling of self defeat from Cameron. I think he knows that this movie isn't gonna be what they expect, and it's like you can't blame him because like, and that's another the question I want to lead into is the big question here. Do you think Avatar Way of Water is gonna hit that budget or hit that goal of what was it, 800 million?
Yes,
Yeah,
$800 million. I without a doubt.
you think
It's
so?
so wild, but I think this film still makes $1 billion
There's not a
worldwide.
chance this movie makes that much
No,
money.
because domestically, for the first Avatar film, the gross was 27% of its entire worldwide gross. So just in the US, it made $750 million. It still had another 2 billion that it made overseas. I think China was a place where it was a huge smash hit. I think like I remember hearing like places like the Philippines really enjoyed it. Like it was a hit in other countries, and I feel like the overseas box office is going to be friendly to this film. I really gotta believe that if that's what carried the first one, it's what's going to carry this one. Will it make its money back? We will see. Because I heard like you were saying 800 million, but James Cameron said they need to make 2 billion. I'm not sure if it's for
Oh,
both two and three,
mm-hmm.
but that is a huge price tag. Like
Right.
that is a lot of money you have to make for these to be successes. Does it hit the 2 billion? I don't know, but I could see a billion each. But
Wait, so
I don't
I
know.
kind of got lost. So you think that they're gonna make their money back, but you don't think they're gonna reiterate that a little bit for me?
I don't think they're going to be the successes like the first ones. Because,
Okay.
the first ones didn't need to make $1 billion to be a success, but they ended up making $2 billion. But if you need $2 billion to be a success, and I don't think that these will have the momentum that the first one had, like, you probably just break even if that. And, like, that's what I could realistically see happening because they spent too much on these films.
Mm-hmm.
Like, way too much money. Like, that is setting a ridiculous expectation for something that is not the Avengers. And
Yeah.
like, think about that. Like, if I were to tell you a year ago there's a movie that needs to make $2 billion to break even, you were like, "Wow, the next Avengers sounds like it's going to be the most expensive film ever made." And I'm just like, it's not the Avengers. Oh, it's Star Wars then, right? No, it's not Star Wars. Are they remaking Lord of the Rings? No, it's Avatar.
Right.
It's the Blue Cat People movie, the one that didn't even sell toys or costumes really that
Exactly.
somehow people believe in.
Right. Well, for me, like I don't think. Yeah, this movie. So surprised that you think this is gonna, you know, get those numbers because I don't think they're gonna hit that at all. I think this is gonna be a massive flop. I don't like, you know, I just really because I think even Cameron was making this point is that it is so much time has passed. Is like the culture has moved on. Like who is really I haven't seen a single person like I'm excited to see the continuation of Avatar over a decade. Like there's no continuity there anymore. There's no natural flow of it, no natural progression of it, to where like I don't necessarily want it to flop. Right? I don't think I'm not preying on the downfall of the Blue Cat people, but it just like I just don't think this movie's going to succeed on any kind of front. I think it's going to be a massive
Mm-hmm.
dud. But I did want to ask you, outside of Avatar, is there any other media that you had to wait an incredible amount of time for, and when it came back, it was still that same sort of hype that it was before, and it was still pretty decent product? Because I have a very particular experience.
Like the first thing that popped in my head was The Hobbit,
Okay.
but it didn't live up to the expectations. The Lord of the Rings was too good, and The Hobbit was kind of a CGI fest that lacked the soul of the original trilogy of the Fellowship, Two Towers, Return of the King. And the Star Wars sequel trilogy, clearly a long wait between the prequels and that for somebody who watched prequels as a kid, and then the sequel trilogy as an adult. I didn't think that lived up to expectations. Actually, ruined Star Wars for me. So
Dang.
I don't think Avatar 2 could ruin Avatar for me any more than like
True.
history itself has.
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of the weird thing. Like, you just kind of realize over time that it wasn't good. You wouldn't mention it in your top 25 movies ever made,
Not at all.
like, period, whatsoever. And that's like wild to say because it's James Cameron that just has like this history of making these highly successful films that are pretty good. Like Titanic, pretty good film, made a lot of money, and he made Aliens, pretty good film, made good money. Like Terminator 2, Terminator, great films, made good money. But this one just doesn't seem like it's built to be the critical or commercial success that we've come accustomed to from him.
Hmm.
It doesn't feel right. It feels like James Cameron should be off doing something else rather than Avatar 2. Like I feel like fans of James Cameron would probably prefer to see another Alien
Hmm.
sequel done by James Cameron than an Avatar.
Yeah,
Or a
right.
Terminator even.
And it kind of asks you makes you ask the question like, is it just like a big thing of like sunken cost fallacy? Like after Avatar one, I'm assuming that actually maybe not. Like I don't think he went directly into Avatar two because I don't think if he did, it would take this long for it to come out. But yet again, it's like clearly like they were building this up. This you know you can assume that they were building up this whole time. It's like you said, I think people would much rather be like some other James Cameron projects versus this, and it sort of deteriorates sort of his view on or people the public perception of his like creativity. But back to the question I asked is like when it comes to like projects that took a long time to come back out, people in the anime community we all know the one thing that we're all thinking about, which is Attack on Titan. So Attack on
Mm-hmm.
Titan, like the history of that is like it was season one and two, which is like people were like upset. Actually, it might have just been season one up to season two, but either way, there was a 7 year gap for the next season of Attack on Titan to come out, and I think the anime community can all say like that wait was well worth it because it's one of the most in depth stories of like all time in anime history. So it's like when you have those sort of underdog stories coming like that, where like you can wait that amount of time and still come back and it's even stronger than ever, that works. But when you look at Avatar 2, it's like unless what if the story's actually good in this movie? What if we're like completely disregarding that fact that this movie could actually
I
have
mean,
like I don't think we're considering like we're talking about the culture aspect that people completely disregard this. But what if this is actually just a solid movie like story wise? Like maybe
yes.
yeah.
Like I've wondered that because if you've had this long to come up with a movie, I can't imagine like that screenplay is going to be dog water.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, but how good can it really be? Like you've seen the trailers and it looks really gimmicky. Like it looks like how I told you. It seems like some type of tribal LARP
Yeah.
screenplay. Like it's so corny sounding. It sounds like you have somebody living in the first world trying to write how they think somebody in a tribe would talk,
Yeah.
and then saying that they're like these blue aliens, and that just feels odd and weird. And the main character is the dude that plays Jake Sully.
I have no
Gosh,
clue his
what's his
name.
name? Uh, Weatherington or something like that. I
Uh,
can't remember because it's kind of funny. He was becoming a big deal as like an action movie star when Avatar 1 came out, but his career just kind of like fizzled out. Like he had those awful Titan movies, you know what I'm talking about,
yeah,
like
yeah.
Gods of War.
Mm.
That's not the name
Oh,
of it.
he
I forget
was.
what it's
Yeah, he
called.
was in those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they were like forgettable
Right.
Wrath of the Titans or something like that. And he fell off, and they're bringing this guy back. He's not like a big movie star, but he is your leading man. Like he's your guy. So I feel like there's just a lot working against this, and I don't think that a good story is going to redeem this film.
See,
And I don't
yeah,
think it's going to redeem the box office receipts either. Like you'd have to have like a film that ends up with a 9 on IMDb out of 10 to really like blow people away. I feel like
exactly. And
this.
that's exactly what I was just thinking about. Like, if on the day this movie drops, and I see a review like consistent reviews of this movie story is incredible. Like the Avatar franchise is back. This world is like thrilling and inviting, and you really want to be a part of it. That might actually get me into a theater seat to see this movie. But like off of just like culture alone, like I said, it's been past its momentum.
I feel like what we're going to ultimately see is reviews from critics saying something along the lines of like 3 out of 5 stars, enjoyable, pretty, average story,
Yeah,
nothing really wrong with it, and it'll pass. We'll get like a 75% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like I think it's gonna be like right in the middle of the line. It's gonna get like some Marvel movie Rotten Tomato scores and stuff.
You said Marvel movie? Nah, but the Marvel movies nowadays are like maybe they're like being
Yeah,
yeah
they
yeah
do crush it a lot more now. Yeah,
yeah
you're
yeah.
right. Yeah, well, okay, so maybe not that high, but just below. I could see it being like a 75 Rotten Tomatoes, 60 Metacritic, IMDb from fans. That's the question mark for me though. Like how
Mm,
are audiences going to receive this?
right.
Because people can really like show up for some average movies. Case in point, the first Avatar. People showed up for it. So what if it's lighting in a bottle and you and I think it's absolutely terrible, but people go see it in droves and it reignites like its place in culture. Like, what if it does? And we're gonna kind of be sitting here looking like fools, I
Right,
guess.
and that's
Like,
that's
wow, we've
like
been so
this
wrong.
scenario I'm thinking in my head. Like, what if this is like the biggest underdog story in cinema, probably cinema history that we're talking about right now? Like, if it like completely subverts the slumber that was in this whole time, and like actually makes something great of this universe. That'll be actually. I'm actually kind of rooting for that story now. I kind of want this to be the underdog moment of cinema.
How could it be an underdog moment though when your director is known for getting the box office receipts and your first movie is like the highest grossing film of all time? That's like saying it's an underdog story for Tom Brady and the New England Patriots.
But not because like they've been like out. It's like the big guy like he's like the big talking in town has like been down and out for 13 years. Like hasn't done anything. You're just like, oh, that guy's washed up. Like people have the percent. That's what we're talking. Like that's what I'm talking about now. Is like this guy's washed up. Like no one cares about you anymore. And then like they just come back on the scene. Big guy here is like, you're gonna have some respect for me. This is like, and like they actually show up and show out. If that's Avatar too, like I'll completely sit up here, guys. I'll eat my words. And I might have to do. We might have to do a pop cult cast review on Avatar: Way of the Water.
Of our review,
Yeah,
I'll
and like
review our.
right, and I'll come on this very next video, and be like, Avatar: Way of the Water is a good film. I'll eat my words, guys. I'm not afraid. But
Yeah, I'll own it too. Like I feel like you have to. Like when you're running a podcast, we're gonna have a lot of takes. We're gonna say a lot of things, and the odds are against you. The more you talk, the more likely you are to be wrong. Period. So if we end up being wrong. Oh well. Like I mean, what would be terrible? We end up enjoying a movie.
right, exactly.
Like oh no,
Well,
woe is us.
if we end up watching a 3 hour and 12 minute movie and it just sucks the whole 3 hours and 12 minutes, that sounds like a hell I don't want to experience. But God, I'll do it for you guys. But anyway, guys,
I would leave.
you're
No,
gonna
I would
leave.
leave. 100%. If I'm an hour and a half into this film and it is not good and I don't feel like there's any hope it's gonna be good, why would I stay another hour and a half?
I don't leave movie theaters. I'm sorry. Like unless it's like that trash. Like, bro, I didn't leave Thor: Love and Thunder. If I can go through that, then I can go through anything.
So you've never left a movie before, or just like clocked
Actually,
out?
I that's a lie. I've left 2 times. John Carter. I don't know if you remember that movie. Completely trash Disney film. I
The
believe
one
it's
on Mars that
yes,
nobody went to see, that was a flop.
yes. That movie was trash. Like I literally just left. And then this one other like Ice Cube movie that was just like no one remembers, like literally irrelevant. But yeah, I think this is a movie that
Was it Are We There Yet?
I don't think it was that. It was some like weird like off-brand movie that like I don't know. I need to find that movie. 'Cause I keep wanting to look it up and like really investigate what that movie was, but I just never
Mhm.
got to it. But
I feel like I don't leave the movie theater as much as I just take a nice nap. Eternals, and the big one for me was The Great Gatsby by Baz Luhrmann. I clocked out on that one on purpose. It was a protest snap
wow, protest now.
because what I was seeing was so reprehensible to
You
the source material.
you intentionally snored like very loud. So you're just
Hmm.
like,
Yes, I
guys,
wanted
movie
everybody to
sucks.
know in that theater what I thought of it without trying to really show that I was being a nuisance.
I respect
Not
that.
really. I wouldn't intentionally snore. I don't snore, hopefully, but yeah, I clocked out on that one. And if a movie's bad in the theater, that's what I'm taking advantage of. The recliner seats,
Right, comfortable.
have my snacks. I'm full. Like
Right, chilling. But yeah, guys, is Avatar: Way of the Water gonna fail? We want to hear what you guys think. We're pretty much based on like this movie is not gonna be very perceptive of our attention, but we want to hear what you guys think. Tell us if you guys care about Avatar. Are you guys gonna see the movie? are you looking forward to a possible cult cast review of this movie? If you are, we will definitely do it. Anyway, guys, that's our time here. We'll see you guys on the next video.